following is the conversation with Kal'air Trezegeut, a man who aspires to diversify business interests across Africa. He developed and is still building tools that help companies in the EU zone enter the African market, especially in South Africa, Namibia, Angola, and Mozambique. He is the CEO of TNT Corporation and chairman of Hydrogen Africa. Hydrogen Africa is here to promote, support, and accelerate deployment of green hydrogen and fuel cells technology, as well as to improve access to clean energy in Africa. This is EnergyNews.Biz interview series. To support it, please check our advertising options in the description. Thank you. And now, here's the Kal'air Trezegeut.
So, Mr. Trezegeut, thank you for being our guest today.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us something about awareness about hydrogen in Africa for the beginning?
Yeah, what actually I will say, thanks so much for the questions. Regarding to the awareness of hydrogen in Africa, as a role, the key role that actually am I playing right now is one of the member of Hydrogen Africa. So the awareness actually that we're looking forward, like the country that we're focusing more in South Africa right now, is actually to promote more when it comes to skill, to build a proper skilling to all youngsters and women, to promote more hydrogen activities. People should be able to understand what is hydrogen and where it comes from. What can we be with in the next 10 to 20 years time? So those can, because we are talking more about hydrogen will build jobs. Hydrogen will create many jobs across, but who's the people that will lead that job? It's our next generation. So the next generation must learn a lot when it comes to hydrogen. So our awareness is like to go through, to build for skill development. What we're talking about, how we're talking about skill development, we're going through to the youth to make them understand and push more in the community also. Go through the communities, create a group of promoting free skill of hydrogens. We don't need only engineers. Yes, we need engineers for big capacities, for big knowledge. But for people who will be on the ground of work tomorrow, in the next 4 or 5 years, that will be that youth. So we need to scale them. There's others that in university, there are others that are not in university, but those who are in the community where they're not being able to go to university, how can we support them? In South Africa, I see the initiatives was happening, like we call it about Cheetah. It's a chemical sector education of South Africa. I see the CEO of Cheetah, Mr. Yeshan Pillay, was also talking about the same issues. Those are the kind of issues that we will love to work together to push the awareness of hydrogen into Africa. We talk about South Africa, but we're not stopping to South Africa. We need to go where the plant of hydrogen will be built, where the capability of production of hydrogen in the West. When we talk about West Africa, we're looking about Nigeria and Ghana and Ivory Coast. We need to do the same, promoting more hydrogen, talking more about hydrogen, not only talking about it on the internet, not only come to the internet and newspaper writing things, no. But writing things is good. It's for us, people of that knowledge. Yes, we understand a little bit. But what about the people who will lead the generation after us, after 2050? So those people, we need to push them to understand more about green hydrogens. We need to understand. I was talking about the typical example, like when we go to South Africa, or in Africa, we're looking about the vendors, where the hydrogen port will be built. The job will be creating them. People need to know that area or that locations, that community, from the community leader, from the municipal manager, the district municipality, local municipality, the local economic development of that city, they should be able to know what will be the need of hydrogens. Somehow today we can put a mark on the street, even to universities. Not people on the chemical, but go to the other divisions. Put your mic. Ask somebody a question about hydrogen. I believe you can hear the good answer from that side. So we should not stop. We should push hydrogen. We start now until it reach there in the next 10 Understand?
And what is the actual situation with awareness on the diplomatic level, on the governmental level?
I can say the experience that I'm seeing, I can see the South African government are pushing now, are pushing truly, but what actually it's missing is to conduct sectors or organization, NGOs, what we call NPOs, or organization like us, like Hydrogen Africa, to work end to end with the sector educations. So we can push, we can go, we have people, we have partners that will come to work weekly or monthly to put hydrogen training course or hydrogen practical course. There's a lot of game we can play in the circle of hydrogens. So those are the kind of things government must approach us. We did our first summit in South Africa. Why we choose South Africa? That question. It was for me and my team and my board. We see across Namibia was doing promoting well. Namibia are moving forward. But South Africa started initiatives of hydrogen long ago. When we go to the reality of the book, they started long ago. But there was like in-house. It was like on the small block of circles, on the small squares. But we, Hydrogen Africa, we're supposed to come to pull it up. That's why we organized that 2 days of international conference on hydrogen. It was held at the Hilton Hotel in Johannesburg Center. Over 500 people was attending that conference, where we have our platinum sponsor like Sassos and the rest of the small partner was there. That was the first event that Hydrogen Africa created. It was for us to show the government, here are the voice. Our voice are louder. We need to push. We need to push the engine. We are facing problem with our energy. So that is the time. Hydrogen must come on board. We need to start pushing the engine. We don't need to wait until 2030 so we can wake up. It's like one of the proverbs say in Nigeria, they say, you should wash your eye. So those are the kind of things that actually we come up with. We say, okay, that is the time. Work with us. Let us show you the light. I believe after us, we saw South African government was coming up on the 2nd November, I believe, across to the 20-something November 28th, if I'm not losing mine. Before the end of November, they brought South African Green Hydrogen Summit in Cape Town. That was held in Cape Town. I say well done to them. It was very successful. I hear good speakers, good speaking, good speech. So now it's time to put practicals. It's time for us to not stop there. We still need to talk. We still need to organize many events and many conferences in the different provinces. We should not stop only to Cape Town. We know Saldanha Bay is there, yes, but we have Durban, eThekwini, we got Bayport, we're looking about Mpumalanga. Where others going to be correct, we need to. South Africa got 9 provinces. We need to go through to those provinces. I'm talking about the same in Africa. Nigeria is still there. Nigeria got hydrogen capability of producing, but the voice are not loud there. The voice are not out there. So I believe they're still waiting also for hydrogen Africa to go there. So those are the kind of things that actually we are busy thinking about next year, where we can also now approach Nigerian government to tell them, listen, hydrogen Africa is here. We need to revive your hydrogen initiatives or your hydrogen projects. So we're looking to go to Nigeria. We need to go to Mauritania next year. We go to Djibouti. And then I was having a conversation with Egypt head diplomat here in Paris. So we talk a lot. So we can start also promoting for them. I'm going to work hand to hand with Egyptian hydrogen community. So we can go through with we talk about Kenya also. I say Kenya also are moving good, but I can see they're not putting yet, but they're starting moving good. Tanzania is still talking on the book, but the voice is not out there. What else I can say? South Africa. Why are we talking more about South Africa? I believe you want to say something. Sorry.
So we are now talking about beginning of the hydrogen economy in Africa.
Mm-hmm. The hydrogen economy in Africa, it's because hydrogen, It's equivocal. Africa actually, it's a place for hydrogen. We are looking to be in Africa. Africa is a place. Africa is the El Dorado of hydrogen, of everything. We cannot develop these hydrogens in itself without being to Africa because we are playing a key role, African continent. We are playing a key role with when it comes to this hydrogen production. Because when we're looking actually the potential of hydrogen production in Africa, we're talking about in once before we reach to 2050, we're going to produce over 30 to 60 million ton per annum. Those are the kind of things that actually we are looking to promote to Africa. So when we talk about the 30 to 60 million tons, we're looking about 60 billion to 120 billion in the continent GDPs.
So that's pretty much clear. The climate is there and the potential is there, but what's actually investment climate? You know what I mean? The security, political situation, and so on. Probably the main question that any company would ask.
The security, what I'm talking about, security problems of hydrogens. Uh, sorry, I was put. Okay, the climate security. Actually, I can say we are looking. Also, I can say there's a peaceful now in Africa. It's not old Africa. Each country are trying to. You can see even the latest COP 2027. You can hear the outcome that was there. You can hear each African president was having a word to say. We are promising investors. We are promising the world, come to Africa. Let's work hand to hand. We're going to produce this hydrogen in hydrogen production. We're going to make hydrogen work, not hydrogen on the book, but hydrogen in particular in the new world. Come to Africa. The climate security, the climate of investment, it's peaceful. You can get a report from the IFC, from the World Bank. You can hear EU, they're talking because you can see how many European companies are rushing to go to Africa. I believe you can come with that if, but what we're calling, we are assuring them that Africa is it's a peace place right now. It's not the old place. It's a peace place for hydrogen. So we can work together. Our investment facilities are very clean. We are trying to make things work because hydrogen is our new future. Because when you can check the report of the IRENA last time, the IRENA actually, they say 12%, we are almost reaching the 12% panel of our energy. So it's our consumption. So for us to manage things better, to do things in the proper way. So hydrogen, it's our new market to make Africa climate better.
Can you tell me, are there any countries in Africa that have hydrogen strategies already?
Thank you. In Africa, actually, the strategy actually, when we see in the southern region, Africa, we're talking about, for me, as the board man of hydrogen Africa, we're looking about the north, the MENA side. We're looking about the North Africa. When we talk about Egypt hydrogen, it's quite well developing. It's quite well moving forward and faster development. We're looking, when we're leaving the North Africa, we're coming to the southern region of Africa. Now we talk about Namibia, are quite well developing. Namibia are going forward. Actually, I believe before 2025, we're going to see the great production already start with Namibians. And South Africa, don't forget about South Africa. We always talk Namibia, but South Africa, we are the place to be. We are a hydrogen house of Africa.
But there is a question looming. All of the countries are working on their own, and I'm thinking, like, is there anything that the countries are doing to connect among themselves? Let's say on the policies and regulations. Are there any negotiations on this field?
Thanks so much for that question. So what I will say exactly about that question, it's because when you're talking about working hand to hand to push hydrogen, yes, and to develop the policies to work together, like side by side or south to south. So we already doing that. South Africa already implementing a system to work together with the Namibian government, because you can see in the other side, the South African people, SASO, is collaborating directly with the government. So we are working on those policies, but we can see the South Africa is a fund member of the green hydrogens. So when we're talking about looking about in that group, we got Morocco, Egypt, Kenya. So South Africa is a funding member for that. So we are working on the great policies. Africa will be together for when it comes to green hydrogen. Those are our main focus and main initiatives to make Africa great. So we need to be together and develop one policy that will reach everyone. We don't need to have a different costs and different policies. So that's gonna not make things wow. So we should focus on one way of commitment. So we know each country they got their own policy adoption. So we will try. We need a board of a green, like we talk. That is the same question that I go back again. We're looking about, Africa. We have, except the European hydrogen, we got the France hydrogen, European hydrogen, the GIZ of Germany, the one that actually they were talking more, the Australians and others. But we got hydrogen Africa. We do have hydrogen Africa partnership. We do have Green Hydrogen Africa. So those are the platform. I believe we not need more than 5 or 6 members. People are putting daily eye to green hydrogen of Africa. So those kind of policies is what actually that we need to develop. We need to sit down to do the regulation framework policies. So we need to see all those issues, but it's already implemented. When you go through to some like African Green African Hydrogen Partnership, or you go to African Practice, so you're going to see it. And then even by African Hydrogens, if somebody want to read some books, they should just write to us, and then so we'll send them some articles and policies.
What do you see as main challenges in this hydrogen journey for Africa?
Thank you. The main challenges that we're facing is the funding. But we have everything. We have a good plan. We say Africa is a house of hydrogen. It's about funding. We need great funding. We need international community to come to Africa and to fund and to invest. European have many investors. We're talking about how many countries Europe have. So those countries, they should come to Africa to invest when it comes to green hydrogen. Because Africa, we have the space. South Africa alone can cover over 10 countries, European countries, when it comes to hydrogen investment. We're not talking about Namibia. We're not looking about Kenya. We're not talking about Nigeria. We're not talking about Ivory Coast. We're not talking about Egypt. We're not talking about Morocco, Tunisia. So Tanzania, actually, I cannot forget. Actually, they're coming up now to the map. So those are the kind of situation that we need. We need the European investors, the American investors, state investors, Australian, Asian investors, like Japanese are the one they're focusing more when it comes to green hydrogens. Come, let's work hand to hand. Come invest in Africa. Africa is the El Dorado of green hydrogens. Come be with us so we can move together and make the whole world great. You know what the world is facing to what's happening to Ukraine and Russia. So Africa is calling you to come, let's invest and let's move forward to reach a proper world by 2050.
But knowing that in Africa there are certain regions with water scarcity, and hydrogen production has a huge demand on water. How do you think these things can be solved? I mean, how would you handle this?
So when it comes to water security or water, I believe except the Sahel side. Yes, I believe we do. We not really gonna face that issues what I'm talking about because when we look, we need to go more to the west side. When we go to the West Africa, you can see there'll be the one that will pump more welcome to water issues across. We need to work hand to hand with those kind of people, so those regions. Even when we're talking about, we're looking more when we go to the other side of South Africa by KZN and okay, Western Cape can produce. We don't have a challenge of water in the Western Cape. Saldanha Bay is there. We're going to produce. It's going to send everything in the channel through Namibia from Saldanha Bay. So when we talk about KZN, Itiquenne will also provide from there to Botswana or Namibia. So there's a lot of channel that we can afford. I'm talking about the west for the west to go transit to the other part of east and the other side of Africa.
What would it mean for the continent to, let's say, fulfill this potential to become a hydrogen superpower?
United, to be one, to work hand to hand. Those are the kind of things. Because hydrogen doesn't need a lot of headache. It's just for us to understand, to live, to make sure the GHG, the greenhouse gas, will respect the policies. When it comes to decarbonizations, carbon issues, we need to respect, we need to go to carbon net zero. We need to try which are the countries that are producing more carbons. How can we cut a little bit? How can we move? So whatever needs to be moved, I'm happy to the initiatives of Anglo-American and ArcelorMittal. So those are the kind of good things, good projections, good production, see, research. So we look about, I believe Sasol also are busy working on electrolyzing projects on this product. So those are the kind of things. For me, I would say hydrogen doesn't need more headache. Hydrogen is only one line and one projection. When you have a document of hydrogen, you read from A to Z, since its beginning up to now, you can understand it. On the circle, you can come only about one subject that is telling you respect only the formula and you move. So Africa must only respect the formula. Let's be one. Let's be together. Let's push, and then we can be the champions. For me, I called Africa is the champion of hydrogen.
What companies are expressing the interest to come and to work over there to build the hydrogen production?
You're talking about in Africa or in global?
I'm more focused on, let's say, South Africa, because we know already what happens in Egypt and Namibia mostly, but what happens in South Africa?
In terms of company who are pushing already, who are making the eye when it comes to, I can say in South Africa, we got the main company actually that are putting his budget, his knowledge, his production to hydrogen in Sasol. Because Sasol is contributing a lot when it comes to aviation, when it comes to fuel aviation, when it comes to gas, when it comes to chemical issues. So Sasol is the one that's coming first in Africa, in South Africa, I can say. And Sasol is playing a big role in that southern region, Namibia, all of them. So except Sasol, in South Africa, except Sasol, we have many companies that will come up. I could talk about the example of one or two. Even the new upcoming research company who are developing already hydrogens, except the government, the Department of Science and Technology, and the YSA. We're talking more about, there's a project that's built by a woman called Preska Power that's also working properly, Preska Power. And we go to Bambili Energy that are really pushing when it comes to green hydrogens. I do have Bambili Energy. I do have, you must know that's actually the way we need to promote women in the green hydrogens on my next year event on 2023, because we're going to reward a great woman. We know there's already a woman hydrogen in the world, but we're going to create for South Africa to push South African women to tell that is the women are doing great, and we're going to go to Africa.
So there is another question that just popped out, and that's actually the infrastructure. There's a lack of infrastructure that's already known, and I mean like the logistics, the pipelines, the seaports, transporting, and so on. So, is there a country or few of them that are better developed in this perspective in Africa than the other ones? And is there a plan in separately in countries to develop this infrastructure just because of the hydrogen?
Thank you. Once you go back again to read on South African government presidential website on infrastructures part, you can see South Africa's already pushing these infrastructure when it comes to green hydrogen. But I'm not talking all about South Africa. People will say a lot. Mr. Kal'air, you're talking about only South Africa, but I'm talking about the southern region. Look at Namibia. Namibia will launch his vessel soon. So his hydrogen power plant is going to be with the one they're dealing with France Hydrogen, the HDF, Hydrogen de France. So HDF already putting everything in place to Namibia. So that means there's no lack of infrastructures. Yes, we're talking about, if the people are talking about the lack of infrastructure, I can see, yes, maybe because of funding sometimes. You know, when investment is there, all those infrastructures coming easily for us to develop. We have great engineers also. We have great laboratories in the universities. That's what the same thing that I'm going to go back in the beginning when I was talking about the awareness of the youth. We have great students there in the lab, in chemicals, in engineering. The youth, the young women, young men. Those are the kind of issues. Once we have the funding, or government, if they put money on to invest in the youth when it comes to that stuff. Because for me, let me say this before I go to again to your question. I can say I want to go back again to the awareness side. I say government, if they can have a vision, any African government where they see in the potential of hydrogen market, or every country should adopt hydrogen in Africa. Why are we saying that? They need to go to universities, to their students, invest in those young boys who are sitting in engineering and in a lab and chemical side. Invest in them, invest into them. So those are the features, those are the people who create. Because hydrogen is too fast. We should know now we are busy putting a formula of hydrogen to go to the farming. It's going step by step. So hydrogen will reach every sectors of what we live in. In living society, every sector will need to adopt hydrogen. So who will come with those mindsets? Those youngsters are sitting to the college and to universities. And that I'm talking about, the awareness must be there. We need to focus more trainings, more development, skill development. We need to build capacity to the peoples. So I can say infrastructure is there. Yes, human infrastructures, capacity building is there. We're only missing for funds. Investors need to come. We are begging for investors. For us to reach where we want to go, we need Dubai investors, Saudian investors, American investors, Australian investors, France investors. I can see the German investors. You are there, but it's not enough because Africa is huge. We have 54 countries.
So, talking about investors, what is the role of your organization of Hydrogen Africa in gathering investors, in showing the world the potential?
Thank you. That's actually the promotion of investment that Hydrogen Africa is playing. We are not closing our mouth every single day. We are talking. We are knocking doors in Europe, in Australian side, in Asia, in America. So we are saying to people in Dubai, we're saying to people, come. So that's why we're organizing. We are putting in place different kind of events next year again. You remember this year, 2022, the beginning of May, we did actually run a Namibian Green Hydrogen Investment Forum in Paris, where we brought over 100 top investors in energy sectors and hydrogen field. So after that, people can see the results of what's happening to Namibia. So now again, next year, we are promoting South Africa. We are doing South Africa Green Hydrogen Investment Forum in Paris. This year, we're doing it in Paris. It's going to be May, the 25th of May in Paris, where I believe people who might just go to my LinkedIn or to Hydrogen Africa website, they'll see the date and the correct address where the event will be. Please try to reserve your investors. We call it for investors. That one is only more about investors. Because that's why we're not going to deep to show people regarding what hydrogen formula. No, we are talking all about funding, about people to sign MOUs to go to Africa. So we can bring in Paris few South African ministers, government officials, state-owned companies, CEO of few different state-owned companies. Those are focusing on the green hydrogen. Many head of municipality or district municipality where hydrogen plant will be built, from Pumalanga, from Itikweni, from Saldanha Bay, they'll come to Paris to meet people face to face. That's what we are doing to promote. And then after that, that will be May 25 from Paris. We're calling all big investors, everybody they're looking to go to Africa, contact Hydrogen Africa. I believe in Mr. Journalist will put all our contact details, including our emails, right to us. So we'll show you the way, or we set up. I mean, no matter where you are, Hydrogen Africa can fly to you, so we can have a proper meeting. Tell us where you want to go and where you want to go invest in which platform of hydrogen you want to go. So from there, we're going to UK in June, the 25th of June again. We'll be to UK in London, Syria. So it's where we're gonna develop again with our partners. Is there Mr. Charlie Ratton's associations? They're our Hydrogen Africa partners. So we are organizing a huge investment forum for green hydrogen, South African green hydrogen in the UK. And from there, we're flying back to South Africa. It's where we're gonna have a massive event on hydrogen. So whatever we collected from Europe or the MOU that will be signed, we're going to talk it in front of the South African president in September month. It's going to be 3 days of event, and it's 3 days. But the first day we'll do a pre-event, but the normal event day is on the 3 days from the 27th up to the 29th. The 26th is only 4 to 3 hours pre-event, just to tell maybe we're gonna go visit one of the Sasa plant, or we could go to Mpumalanga to visit as it's close to Johannesburg. And then the 27th to 29th is where the masterclass of the event is starting to show the practical of hydrogen and the way forward, how South Africa is booming and boasting. Because 2025, we promised already, South African government promised already there will be one footstep from 2025. So it's going to be our last year to demonstrate exactly. Because when we're coming again in 2024, will be something like combining only in 2025. We say, here we are, that's our firstborn, let's move again. So those are the kind of things we say. Investors come to us, come to South Africa, come to Africa. We'll show you the light.
So how do you see hydrogen development in 5 to 10 years in Africa?
Seeing a vision, I believe it's something that I did say early. Hydrogen in the next 5 to 10 years will put Africa to the light. You know, Africa will facing a lot of problems. We're seeing successful, I can say positive and successful in the next 5 to 10 years. If only those funders and those investors come on time and support Africa so we can move forward. Africa, we have everything. Africa, we do have everything. I can say, like a country like South Africa, we do have everything. We have metals, we have minings, we have water, we have the desert, we have everything. So it's time for us to move. It's the same as Namibia, it's the same as Tanzania, Kenya, Egypt, DR Congo. I believe there's a possibility also that will come up soon. Hydrogen Africa already sent his researcher. Next year, we'll go to do some research about the Democratic Republic of Congo when it comes to hydrogen productions or hydrogen research. So we'll come up with the news. People might just follow our Twitters, our LinkedIn, and the website, so the news will pop up to tell the world what's happening to the GRC. So what we say in the next 5 to 10 years will be positive. Africa will generate great hydrogen infrastructures in the next 10 years because we are the El Dorado of hydrogen. Okay, I cannot stop to say we are the light. Stick with us to see the light.
Thank you, Mr. Trezegeut.
Thank you so much.